After a close win over the Dallas Cowboys, we break down how Terry McLaurin's historic performance helped keep the Commanders competitive and ultimately come away with the team's 12th win of the year. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, David Harrison. I'm covering the Washington Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com, and I'm here with you every Monday through Friday. You can also help me or find me helping out with WUSA9.com's coverage of the Washington Commanders this season. I want to thank you for coming through today, everydayers. I want to thank you for coming through every single day. Of course, Locked On Commanders is your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, and if you haven't already, you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you are watching today's episode, in which we're going to hand out some game balls following the Washington Commanders' big win over the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about three things to trash, three things to stash from Week 18, including Terry McLaurin's big game performance that really just kind of emulates his big season performance. And we're going to do that thanks to our friends over at FanDuel. New customers, you place a $5 bet and get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. After a close win over the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to break down Terry McLaurin's historic performance and how it helped keep the Commanders competitive in Week 18 and then ultimately come away with their 12th win of the season. Our after action review episode here on Locked On Commanders. What was supposed to happen? What happened? Three things to sustain, three things to improve upon from that win as we get ready to put a nice clean bow on this regular season. It's been a really fun regular season, and then turn the page to the postseason. So what was supposed to happen this weekend? Week 18, Washington Commanders visiting the Dallas Cowboys, 4.5-point favorites coming into the game. That is what was supposed to happen. The over-under on this game was 44.5 points. What actually happened? My score prediction, 31-10. Insider score prediction, 30-17. So some confident folks out here in this game, despite what happened the last time this team saw the Dallas Cowboys. What actually ended up happening, 23-19. So both of us, all of us were a little bit overzealous on the Washington Commanders score, a little bit underzealous on the Dallas Cowboys score. I definitely doubted the Cowboys' ability to put points on the board. Figured they would move the ball a little bit, especially with Trey Lance, but didn't think they'd put as many points on the board as they did. Insiders definitely got close to that Dallas Cowboys score. Total points scored was 42, so we hit the under on that, which was my prediction as well. So that's what happened, and now we get to our three sustains and our three improvements. We call them stash and trash. We want to stash the good things. We want to trash the bad things, and the first stash in this week's game is Terry McLaurin. And of course, you always want to keep Terry McLaurin involved, right? But Terry McLaurin comes through 8 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. That touchdown being the game-winning touchdown in this game. And with that touchdown, wide receiver Terry McLaurin sets a new franchise record, becoming the first wide receiver in franchise history to record 13 touchdown catches in a single game. Very historic moment for the franchise, historic moment for Terry McLaurin. And honestly, really great to see Terry be able to go out there and get that record, given everything that he's been through with this franchise. Yet he's always been the good soldier. He's always had the good message, the smile, the words of encouragement, admitting that things can get frustrating at times, but always looking for how can we get better? How can we move forward? His 8 receptions against the Dallas Cowboys matched his season high for the season so far. And it was the 7th time this year that Terry McLaurin has notched at least 6 receptions in a game. Now, not surprisingly, when Terry McLaurin has 6 catches or more in a single game, the Washington Commanders typically win. In fact, of all the times they've done it this season, they've only lost one game. That came against the Baltimore Ravens, where Terry McLaurin caught at least 6 passes in a football game. But there's a much more humble record for the Washington Commanders of 6-4 when Terry McLaurin falls short of 6 catches. So again, still a winning record, still above 500, and that's, of course, what you want ultimately. But clearly, getting Terry McLaurin involved early and often keeping him involved is the best way, or one of the best ways, for the Washington Commanders to get the ball rolling and get the scoring going and getting wins for the records. Washington's victory over Dallas also featured standout quarterback play. So we're going to talk about that here next, our second stash of the episode. This one, we typically go player, play, team. We're going to go with the team one here first, quarterback running the ball. Now, Commanders coach Dan Quinn made the decision to sit quarterback Jayden in the second half of the win over the Dallas Cowboys in favor of veteran Marcus Mariota. Now, we can call it a benching, call it what you want. For me, the word benching has a negative connotation, as in you're not good enough or you're not doing well enough, so I'm going to go ahead and bench you. Yes, I know Jayden Daniels only had about a 50% completion rate entering halftime, and the offense wasn't doing all that great. But I didn't view at the time, and I still don't view it right now, that Jayden Daniels got benched in the sense that it has a negative connotation to it. Now, if you can take the word benched in context and understand that it's not always a negative, then I can get on board with using that word. But other than that, if you're like me and you automatically hear somebody got benched as a negative, as a you're not doing well, we're going to pull you, then I don't agree with that, because I think it really was what Dan Quinn said it was, which is Jayden had some leg soreness at halftime. They said, whoa, you ran a lot against the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to need more running from the quarterback position in this game, but more importantly, we're going to need you for the playoffs. Then you're not pulling him off the field for a negative. You're pulling him off the field because he's too important to risk. That's basically the way that we're looking at it. So either way, the decision is made. Marcus Mariota comes out, and Dan Quinn said, look, we needed a bigger role on in the ground game from the quarterback position. We knew we were going to need that in the second half. So instead of risking our rookie star quarterback, we go in there and we put Marcus Mariota in what is a partially inconsequential game for the Washington Commanders. Now, Daniels had run the ball 3 times for 28 yards in the first half before he took a knee at the final play of the first half, 1 yard loss on that carry. So it isn't like he wasn't being effective as a runner himself. However, again, with the playoffs looming, Quinn goes the safe route there. Daniels produced an impressive 9.3 yards per carry average in the first half before he took that knee. Mariota came in and in the second half produced an 11.2 yards per carry average in the second half, ends up leading the team with 56 yards rushing on 5 carries and a touchdown run. Perhaps the most significant run of the day came on 4th and 1 from the Dallas 49-yard line. Mariota takes off for a 33-yard gain, sets up the team to have the game-winning throw to Terry McLaurin just 3 snaps later. The game and the performance by both quarterbacks further cements that this Commanders team, having passers who can rush is not an added bonus. Having passers who can rush is a focal point for this offense, is absolutely a part of their identity. Another part of their identity that we saw come out on Sunday, a little bit of creativity, some impressive trickery, some glaring defensive lapses though as well. Let's dive further into the highs and lows as we break down this Week 18 win here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we're doing that partially thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks. It is playoff time. And if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weekends of football action, and that is where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and you want a chance to win real money while watching all the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy sports projections. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns, and you do that for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds, and whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, it's clear that people are loving the platform. I've been playing for a while now, and this weekend, I've got a $10 ticket in on Jayden Daniels having more than 50.5 rushing yards, Bucs running back Bucky Irving to have more than half a rushing touchdown and or receiving touchdown, and the Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley to gain more than 102.5 rushing yards Sunday afternoon against the Green Bay Packers. Here's a special offer for Locked On NFL listeners. Download the app today. Use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup with Prize Picks. Run your game. Washington's victory over Dallas included some impressive trickery, some glaring defensive lapses as well. We're going to dive further into the highs and lows of the Week 18 victory, the 12th win of the season for the Washington Commanders. If you want to get even more out of the Locked On Commanders podcast, make sure you become a Locked On Commanders insider today. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. From there, you can text me your thoughts, your comments. You're going to contribute to the show, just like some of our newest insiders did. I asked for game balls. Some of our newest insiders cast their ballots for who they wanted to get game balls from this last victory. So things like that. And of course, exclusive access to our insider-only Zoom conferences, which we've started to have every pregame, every postgame. It's a lot of fun, just some people getting together for some lighthearted conversation about what we all want to see, and that is Commanders victory. So again, to become a Locked On Commanders insider, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. Try it out for free for the first 2 weeks. We've got one more stash coming up here, and we've got our 3 trashes that we need to talk about. And we're going to talk about our play that we want to stash, the sustained play that we want to talk about. And look, It's the Dyami Brown pass to Olamide Zaccheaus. Distributing the ball is the most important part of playing quarterback in the National Football League. It doesn't matter how talented of an athlete you are. If you can't play quarterback at the highest level, if you can't throw the football, right? At the end of the day, you've got to be able to do that. However, it doesn't mean that the quarterback is the only guy on the field at any given time that can throw the football. And nobody displayed that more than wide receiver Dyami Brown did on Sunday, who does have a quarterback background. A lot of people forget about that, but he does have a quarterback background. Yes, we know the play didn't work, but it wasn't because of Dyami Brown's arm, and it wasn't because the play call wasn't just amazingly timed, and it wasn't because the play design wasn't great. So we're still going to sustain the play, even though the result was a dropped touchdown here. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury dialed up the perfect trick play at the perfect time, and the result was a beautifully placed ball that receiver Olamide Zaccheaus unfortunately dropped in the end zone. Remember, the full scope of talent in your players, that is the key to being an effective coach and effective offensive coordinator. Setting them up to maximize those characteristics, those skills is critical, and Kingsbury did that with what would have gone down as the best play in the National Football League this week had it been caught. So keep dialing up those great plays, even if they aren't all trick plays. Keep dialing up the great plays. Keep maximizing your players' talent, putting them in position to be successful. That is what's going to get the Washington Commanders offense to continue to impress this season, potentially get an upset win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and move on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. The three things that we want to trash from this Week 18 win over the Dallas Cowboys. We're looking at cornerback Noah Igbenogany to start the conversation. And in case you're new to the AAR format conversation, this is not that we want to trash Noah Igbenogany. It's just that there's parts of, or maybe in the entirety of the performance specifically, that we want to leave behind in Week 18. Cornerback Noah Igbenogany has been a solid part of this defense ever since rookie cornerback Mikey Sandersill was asked to move outside, opening up a spot inside where Noah Igbenogany then stepped in. However, on Sunday, the veteran cornerback, the slot cornerback, arguably had his worst game of the season after allowing 4 catches while being targeted 7 times by Dallas quarterback Trey Lance. Those 4 completions produced 89 yards of total offense for the Cowboys and a passer rating for Trey Lance of 101.8. A lot of that success for Lance came on man-beater type routes that led to receivers running away from Igbenogany on her horizontal routes parallel to the line of scrimmage that crossed in front of the quarterback's field of vision. So a lot of it does have to do with very good scheming, using very fast receivers like Jalen Tolbert. We'll talk about him here in just a minute. Guys like that. But at the end of the day, Joe Witt Jr. has got to have some responsibility for it too. You've got to find a way to combat and counter what they're trying to do. Because again, we've talked about this before all throughout the season. At times, other teams are watching, other coaches are learning. And if they see, that really worked against the Washington Commanders when the Dallas Cowboys did, they may at least try to insert some things like that of their own if they don't already have those wrinkles in there. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely have some wrinkles in their offense to take advantage of some of the things that the Dallas Cowboys were able to do, especially against Igbenogany in Week 18. So that's our player trash. Again, not trashing the entire player, trashing the performance, whether it's completely his fault or not. Now, the team thing that we want to trash is missing players. Now, look, some of the things we talk about in this trash segment over the weeks is within the reach of coaches. It's within the reach of players. It's something that can be trained, taught, studied, understood, and some are not. And injuries fall into that second category to at least a certain extent, right? Certainly guys can be tougher and whatever, but there's only so much toughness you can ask from a guy, right? At a certain point, you guys say, okay, look, he's injured, right? I used to have a boss that would always say, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, put on your gear, put on your pack, let's go to work. If you're injured, that's different. So we're talking about guys that are injured, but I would be remiss if we did not talk about this game and talk about the fact that the absence of center Tyler Biadasz and cornerback Marshon Lattimore are being felt extremely impactfully felt. I don't know if that was even English, to be honest with you, but beyond the normal heights of when just one player is missing or even 2 players are missing, these 2 guys have proven to be incredibly important on the field when they're on the field, but we're seeing their importance even more when they're not on the field. In fact, there's something impressive about the fact to me that Marshon Lattimore, after only playing 2 games since he's arrived in early November, we can already tell when he's on the field, this defense is different. And they play different. They look different than when Marshon Lattimore is not on the field. So when Marshon Lattimore is not on the field, or compared to when he is on the field, opposing completion percentages drop 12% when Marshon Lattimore is on the field this season, and both pressure and sack rates go up when Marshon Lattimore is on the field. Meanwhile, the sack rate nearly doubles when Tyler Biadasz is off the field compared to when he's on the field. That's the Washington Commanders offensive sack rate, obviously. Perhaps the team made that misses Tyler Biadasz the most actually isn't even Jayden Daniels, the quarterback, which you would assume it was, but it's actually running back Brian Robinson Jr. B-Rob's averages 3.4 yards per carry without Tyler Biadasz in the lineup, 4.5 yards per carry with him in the lineup. So Brian Robinson Jr., we've talked about this too, some of his rushing issues, some of his lack of production issues, not necessarily all on him. Certainly there's some on him, but not all on him. The absence of Tyler Biadasz is certainly a part of that process. So the faster this team can get Tyler Biadasz back on the field, the faster they can get Marshon Lattimore back on the field, going to be incredibly, incredibly important, especially entering the playoffs when Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, they got Vita Vea, they got Kalijah Cansey on that defensive line. They've got a linebacker, Yaya Diaby, who's doing a really good job early in his career of being a disruptive pass rusher. Shaquille Barrett, who won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, not that long ago, is back on that team. So they're going to have some pass rush pressure on them. And if Tyler Biadasz isn't out there, I don't know how well things are going to go from a pass protection standpoint. We'll see. Another week is another opportunity for Michael Dieter if Biadasz can't go, but you definitely want to see Biadasz go. And then, of course, Marshon Lattimore versus Mike Evans. If you know anything about that rivalry history, it is one that you definitely want to be able to see. You hope both guys come out of healthy, but you definitely want to be able to see it. If you don't know about it, do yourself a favor, go on Twitter or wherever, Google, whatever platform you're on, and Google the Marshon Lattimore versus Mike Evans rivalry. It is a doozy. But again, being able to have Marshon Lattimore on the field, focus your resources on the rest of the defense elsewhere, going to be a big key to the Washington Commanders trying to stop this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense that is very, very effective. Now, the play that we want to trash is Jayden Tolbert exposing the defense. Receiver Jayden Tolbert led the Dallas Cowboys in receiving on Sunday, 4 catches for 98 yards. Dallas employed a lot of design features that stressed the Washington defense and deceived players into thinking they were defending one thing when really the play was going to go in a different direction. It was really smart play design by the Dallas Cowboys, I thought, on a couple occasions. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do this as well. Receiver Jalen McMillan, their rookie out of Washington in particular, has a highly effective running, has been highly effective running routes, similar to the type of concepts, and regularly finds himself running parallel to line of scrimmage like Jayden Tolbert was this last weekend. When that's threatening well, the Buccaneers then like to unleash him deep because these cornerbacks then get a little bit more aggressive. They maybe try to jump some of these things, get a little bit closer, play a little bit more press, and that's when they try to get Jalen McMillan over the top of you to get you beat deep. So Jalen McMillan, I would say more versatile than Jayden Tolbert, not as fast, but more versatile. But some of these things that we saw Jayden Tolbert win with on Sunday for the Dallas Cowboys are things that Jalen McMillan can win with for the Buccaneers. That then sets up that haymaker later deep down the field. These types of schemes basically challenge the discipline of play assignment in football. Playing your assignment, we talked about it. Talked to Frankie Louvu before the game in Dallas. He talked about understanding if you've got the tight end leak, stay disciplined, stay ready for that tight end leak. If you've got quarterback pursuit or contain, stay there and do that kind of thing. When you get out of those scheme elements, that's where things can really get problematic. The Dallas Cowboys drew up some things to really challenge that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do the same as well. The Commanders were exploited by these things several times on Sunday, and you can bet Tampa Bay is going to look to do similar things in the wild card round. Now, Commanders coach Dan Quinn praised Marcus Mariota for stepping up when it mattered the most, delivering clutch plays in key moments, and earning my game ball for his crucial role in a win over the Dallas Cowboys. That's coming up next as we wrap up this episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders brought to you in part by Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite movies or memories was attending a concert last year with my wife. We went out, had a good night, got to meet the artists, had a little bit of conversation backstage. The energy and the excitement was unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets to your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. So let's say you want to go see Metallica at Northwest Stadium on May 28th. Game Time Picks will show you a super deal for tickets in the front row of section 442 for $196. And toggling on the all-in pricing means that there's no surprises at checkout. That $196 ticket is $196 even when you get to checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create your account. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Commanders, we've got our final segment here in our after action review. We're going to hand out some game balls because there's a victory, and we're going to talk about Dan Quinn talking about some important stuff. Commanders coach Dan Quinn praised Marcus Mariota for stepping up when it mattered the most, delivering clutch plays and key moments, and earning my game ball. But before I give out my game ball, we're going to go over Dan Quinn's quote. He said, quote, "Over the last 2 weeks, I've enjoyed so much getting to share with everybody else Marcus, the teammate, what he means to everybody here. This week, talking about Marcus, the damn good football player, the fourth down conversion, the throw to receiver, Terry McLaurin at the end, those kinds of plays for him, that's what he is capable of. Being able to deliver in the moment for your teammates is a really big deal. So when it was down the line at the end of the game, fourth down, 6 seconds left, those moments, very cool to see him deliver." End quote. I think this is really just kind of indicative of what the Washington Commanders have really been talking about all season long, right? It's a kind of an all for one thing. It's, team over me and all that kind of stuff, all those cliches that you hear about. But Marcus Mariota has really kind of embodied that whole thing. And you go back to some of the things that Dan Quinn said earlier in the season about, you can tell how much a team really cares about a guy for when they have these big moments and how they celebrate each other. And if you looked at Jayden Daniels, I know there's some concerns like, well, if he got pulled from this game for leg pain, how serious is that going to be? Listen, if you watch Jayden Daniels jumping around, getting excited for Marcus Mariota having success, you're going to know it's not going to be a serious issue entering the wild card weekend. But it just goes to show you that while Marcus Mariota is sitting here mentoring Jayden Daniels and doing all these things, and Jayden talked about it in his post-game press conference, said, he's been this great veteran leader, doesn't have to take me under his wing, but he does. And we've got all these experiences in the National Football League, other veteran quarterbacks in the past who've kind of come out and said, I'm not here to be this guy's mentor. We're both quarterbacks on the same team. We both have a job to do. We both want to be on the field. It's not my job to make him better to prevent me from getting playing time. Well, Marcus Mariota is not taking that approach. Marcus Mariota has come in and said, yes, I want to play, always want to start. But I understand that this young man is going through some things. He's number 2 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner. Everybody's looking at him to be the savior of the franchise the way they did with him in 2015 with the Tennessee Titans. And he is not going to be a person who feeds into the negativity of that. He's going to be a person that helps Jayden Daniels rise above it and through it. That is exactly what he's done. He's been a mentor. He's been a friend, big brother type, whatever you want to call it. Marcus Mariota has been an amazing teammate behind the scenes for pretty much the entirety of the season. But these last 2 weeks, like Dan Quinn mentioned, whether it be that clip of him standing up Jayden Daniels, say, hey, dude, get your breath, go out there, win this game, do these things, or him coming in for Jayden at halftime and absolutely picking apart the Dallas Cowboys, not to mention go back to week 9 when Jayden got injured against Carolina Panthers. It was week 7. You know what I'm talking about. Carolina Panthers, he gets injured in the first drive of the game. Marcus Mariota comes in, completely decimates the Carolina Panthers. Whatever it is, every time Marcus Mariota has been asked to do something for this team, he's done it, and he's done it to the best of his ability. And because of that, I'm super proud, super happy to share that quote from Dan Quinn, because I just want to continue to emphasize how cool it is that Marcus Mariota is getting some shine right now at this part of the season. And because his game performance was so lights out, he is getting my game ball. I'll ask the insiders to give out their game balls. Top 3 vote getters, Marcus Mariota, Bobby Wagner, and Terry McLaurin. Mikey Sanders still got some love. Frankie Louvu got some love. Jeremy Chin got some love as well. But ultimately, it was quarterback Marcus Mariota getting the insider game ball as well. It doesn't happen all the time that we both give the same game ball to the same guy, but it does happen from time to time. And when it does, it just shows that we're all on the same page here. Bobby Wagner, second most votes. Terry McLaurin getting the third most votes as well. I think Bobby Wagner getting a lot of love because even though stat box didn't explode, I think we all kind of saw Bobby. Even when this team was not doing all that great in the first half, Bobby Wagner was certainly a guy that you can look at the team and say, look, this team did not necessarily come out in week 18 ready to kick some butt, but Bobby Wagner absolutely came out there ready to kick some butt. And the Washington Commanders ultimately got the win. In our next episode, we're going to talk about what we learned from the Washington Commanders in our last game of the regular season. We're also going to turn the page from the regular season to the postseason at some point this week and go over some regular season superlatives and all those things. So in the meantime, before all that comes out, if you got questions or comments, all you got to do is send them to me by texting me. To do that, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders and join the ever-growing population of Locked On Commanders insiders. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast in the morning. The madman Tyler Rowland kicks you off with a double shot of NFL espresso. Then in the afternoon, come back through for the barbershop vibes with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. It's the all-new Locked On NFL, and it's twice per day As always, thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day, every day. Everydayers, thank you for coming through on a regular basis like you do. And until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe, be kind, and I will see you right back here next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.